Hello everyone, and welcome to this explainer on a framework that is absolutely transforming the way governments and institutions operate worldwide. Today we're unpacking a masterclass on monitoring and evaluation, specifically drawing from the definitive guide, Making Results-Based M&E Work for You and Your Organization. We're going to look closely at a 10-step model that can dramatically elevate how you track, measure, and actually achieve your strategic goals.
Greetings, I am Mr. Hussain, ME expert at PMCC Gilgit-Baltistan. Welcome to this professional tutorial on results-based M&E. In my line of work, I've seen firsthand the incredible power of structured, evidence-based management. So whether you're a development practitioner, a government official, a project manager, or a student of public management, this tutorial is designed specifically for you. Okay, let's dive into this.
First up, we really need to understand what we're talking about here. Results-based monitoring and evaluation, or M&E, is a profoundly powerful public management tool. Basically, it's a system that helps policymakers and decision-makers focus intensely on analyzing actual outcomes and impacts. And you know, this isn't just a local trend, it is a massive global phenomenon. Multilateral development institutions, donor governments, parliaments, the private sector, civil society, they're all demanding increased accountability and transparency. Initiatives tied to global funding and trade standards are actively driving this demand for tangible, measurable results.
Our agenda for today is as follows. 1. Welcome and the why. 2. Readiness and outcomes. 3. Building the framework. 4. Monitoring and evaluating. 5. Using data and sustaining. 6. Key takeaways.
Welcome and the why. Now, internally, governments are facing immense pressures right now. Deregulation, commercialization, privatization, constantly fluctuating budgets. They need a tool to help them manage resources efficiently and, quite frankly, actually fulfill promises made to citizens. Traditional M&E focuses heavily on inputs and outputs, meaning how much money did we spend, how many workshops did we hold, but here's the reality check. Inputs and outputs tell us almost nothing about the actual effectiveness of a policy. Results-based M&E completely shifts that dynamic. It asks the ultimate so what question. It focuses relentlessly on outcomes and impacts, the actual real-world changes experienced by the target population.
Section 2. Readiness and Outcomes.
Let's move to and see how this builds with the first two steps of our model. Step 1 is conducting a readiness assessment. Now, this is a vital diagnostic tool that is unfortunately almost always missed. Before you build a system, you have to know if an organization is actually ready for it. Do you have the right incentives? Do you have highly placed political champions? For instance, readiness assessments in places like Egypt and Romania yielded vital information about the best entry points for M&E. Then we have step 2, choosing outcomes to monitor and evaluate. Because regardless of your current M&E capacity, every government or organization absolutely must set strategic goals. These longer-term outcomes essentially act as a compass, showing you exactly which road to take.
Section 3. Building the framework.
Once you know where you want to go, you have to build the technical architecture to get you there, which brings us to steps 3, 4, and 5. Think of this as a deductive process. Everything flows naturally down from those strategic outcomes we just set in step 2. First, in step 3, you set key performance indicators, or KPIs. These are the specific variables you'll use to measure achievement. Then, step 4 is establishing baselines, figuring out exactly where you're starting from today. And step 5 is selecting results targets, defining exactly where you expect to be within a specific time frame. And a quick reminder here, building this framework is a highly participatory political process. Key internal and external stakeholders have to be consulted at every single step.
Now, when setting those indicators in step 3, they've got to be high quality. Similar to the SMART goals you might be used to, you should aim for CREAM indicators. That stands for clear, relevant, economic, adequate, and monitorable. Constructing good indicators isn't a one-and-done task. It takes serious effort and usually a few tries. Piloting your indicators is absolutely essential. And here's a crucial piece of professional advice. Once they are well thought out, do not change your indicators frequently. Constant tweaking will lead to absolute chaos in your overall data collection system. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how your baseline acts as an anchor. It's the very first measurement of the indicators, representing the exact conditions before you start your intervention. You might collect this through baseline surveys, community interviews, or official records. Once you have that grounded reality, you can realistically calculate your targets in step 5. Targets are determined by just adding your desired levels of improvement right on top of your baseline, while keeping a very realistic eye on the finite resources you actually have available.
Section 4. Monitoring and Evaluating.
With our framework solidly built, we have to actively track our progress on the ground. Step 6 entails monitoring for results. This involves implementation monitoring, looking at your means and strategies, and results monitoring. It requires reliable, valid, and, most importantly, timely data collection. Then we hit Step 7, using evaluation information. Now, monitoring and evaluation are fully complementary. While monitoring gives you that continuous performance data, evaluations are essential when you need to, say, rethink causality, identify a sudden emerging problem, or support a major resource allocation decision.
And there isn't just one rigid way to evaluate. We're looking at 7 different types of evaluation here, ranging from rapid appraisals and case studies, all the way to comprehensive impact evaluations and process implementations. Each type is tailored for specific kinds of questions, but regardless of the type you end up choosing, quality evaluations absolutely must be characterized by impartiality, usefulness, strong stakeholder involvement, and technical adequacy.
Section 5. Using data and sustaining.
Because let me tell you, having brilliant, pristine data is entirely useless if it just sits in a drawer gathering dust. Step 8 is reporting findings. You have to continuously report performance data, constantly comparing it back to that baseline anchor we discussed earlier. Step 9 is using those findings. This is so critical for generating knowledge and learning within an organization. Fun fact, simply asking for performance information often leads to improved performance all on its own. Finally, Step 10 is sustaining the M&E system, ensuring it evolves into a credible, long-lasting knowledge management system that's driven by clear roles and trustworthy information.
Of course, sustaining this, especially in developing countries, comes with some serious friction. You might run into weak institutional capacity, a total lack of bureaucratic coordination, or a deeply entrenched traditional M&E culture that resists change. While technical assistance and training can definitely help smooth out some of these difficulties, the reality is clear. No amount of training can substitute for indigenous political will. Having highly placed champions and strong, sustained political leadership are literally the ultimate keys to overcoming these hurdles.
Section 6. Key takeaways.
So, the crucial point is this. Results-based M&E systems are incredibly powerful. They allow organizations to clearly demonstrate accountability and transparency to their stakeholders. In turn, that transparency fosters essential political and financial support for your projects. It builds a solid, undeniable knowledge base of what works, what doesn't, and exactly why. But most importantly, it creates a vital cultural shift toward results. Building this culture takes time and serious commitment. Because, as the saying goes, in the absence of efforts to undertake this transformation, the only way an organization can coast is downhill. Building and sustaining these systems takes genuine effort. And while no system is completely perfect, the journey is absolutely worth it. And the organizational rewards are profound. Thank you for joining this tutorial. I am Mr. Hussain, MEIL expert at PMCC Gilgit-Baltistan. Please like, share, and subscribe for more professional MEIL and results-based management tutorials. I'll leave you with this final thought. Having seen this framework laid out, from the initial readiness assessments all the way to sustaining the system with real political will, are you ready to implement these 10 steps and truly transform your organization's performance? The tools are right here. Now it's up to you to use them. Until next time, keep focusing on results.